In a quiet suburban neighborhood, nestled between neatly trimmed hedges and manicured lawns, lived a couple named Mark and Lisa. They had been married for nearly a decade, and on the outside, they appeared to be the perfect picture of domestic bliss. Mark was a kind-hearted man in his 60s, a retired school teacher who dedicated his life to shaping young minds. Lisa, 10 years his junior, had a vibrant spirit that illuminated their home. Yet beneath the surface of their seemingly happy marriage, a storm was brewing. Mark had always been devoted to Lisa, showering her with love and attention. He recalled the early days of their relationship, filled with laughter, late-night talks, and dreams of a bright future together. They had built a life that many envied, but as time went on, Mark began to notice subtle changes in Lisa. She seemed distracted, her laughter less frequent, and her eyes often wandered away into the distance as if searching for something or someone else. The tension came to a head one fateful evening when Mark returned home early from a day out fishing. He walked through the front door, expecting the comforting aroma of dinner wafting through the air. Instead, he was greeted by an unsettling silence. As he called out for Lisa, a sense of dread washed over him. He made his way to their bedroom, where an unsettling sight awaited him. There, on the bed, were remnants of a hurriedly discarded shirt, one that did not belong to him. His heart raced as he pieced together the betrayal. It wasn't just any affair. It was with her stepbrother, Tom. Tom had been a familiar face at family gatherings, a charming young man with an easy smile that melted hearts. Mark had always seen him as a younger brother, never suspecting that he would turn into the instrument of his wife's betrayal. The image of the two together shattered Mark's heart, igniting a fire of hurt and anger within him. The confrontation was inevitable. Mark confronted Lisa that night, his voice trembling with disbelief and pain. She confessed, tears streaming down her cheeks, admitting that she felt a connection with Tom that had spiraled out of control. The words cut deeper than any knife, and Mark felt as if the ground had vanished beneath his feet. He had been blindsided by the very person he had trusted the most. The love they had built was crumbling, and as Lisa spoke of her feelings, Mark felt a mix of anger and sorrow envelop him. With every word, Mark's heart hardened. He could not fathom how she could betray him so callously. The next few days were a blur of emotions, disbelief, rage, and ultimately a resolute decision. He decided he would not let her betrayal define him. Instead, he would reclaim his dignity and find a way to heal. Mark spent the following weeks pouring himself into his work as a volunteer at the local community center, helping children with their studies. It was there, amidst the laughter of children and the gratitude of parents, that he began to regain his sense of self. Each smile and every thank you soothed his wounded heart and reminded him of the goodness still present in the world. Meanwhile, Lisa moved out, and Mark was left to grapple with the emptiness of their home. He found solace in the company of friends who rallied around him, offering support and encouragement. They reminisced about the good times, shared stories of heartbreak, and reminded him that he was not alone. Slowly but surely, Mark began to rebuild his life, piece by piece. As the days turned into months, Mark discovered a newfound strength within himself. He began to focus on the things he loved: gardening, fishing, and even taking up painting. The canvas became a refuge for his emotions, and through it, he expressed the heartache and the journey of healing he was undergoing. But just as he was finding his footing, he learned that Lisa and Tom had moved in together. The news hit him like a ton of bricks. It was a bitter pill to swallow, knowing that she had chosen to build a new life with the very person who had caused him such pain. However, instead of succumbing to despair, Mark resolved to move forward. He started to rethink everything he had known about love, trust, and the meaning of loyalty. With this chapter of his life behind him, he began to open his heart to new possibilities. He joined a local book club where he met Ellen, a widow with a kind smile and a shared love for literature. Their friendship blossomed over shared stories and laughter, and before long, Mark found himself captivated by her warmth. Yet he remained cautious, not wanting to rush into anything too soon. As he navigated this new journey of rediscovery and healing, the ghosts of his past lingered. He often wondered how Lisa was doing, if she felt any remorse for the pain she had caused. But the more he focused on rebuilding his life, the less power those thoughts held over him. Mark was determined to embrace the future, to honor the lessons learned from his past, and to look ahead with hope and resilience. Little did he know, the story was far from over. As he continued to heal and grow, the tides of fate would soon bring forth a twist that would challenge everything he thought he knew about love, loyalty, and the bonds of family. As the seasons changed, so did Mark's perspective on life. He found solace in the rhythms of nature, tending to his garden with the care he once reserved for his marriage. The vibrant flowers and thriving vegetables became symbols of his resilience. He often shared these moments with Ellen, who had become a steady presence in his life. Their conversations, filled with laughter and shared stories, rekindled a spark in Mark that he thought had long extinguished. One sunny afternoon, as they sipped tea on Mark's porch, Ellen shared tales of her late husband, a man who had fiercely loved her and had been devoted to their family. Mark listened intently, finding comfort in her memories. It was during these moments that he realized how important connection was, not just with a partner, but with friends and community. However, as Mark embraced this new chapter, a shadow loomed from the past. It was a typical Saturday when he received a surprising phone call from an old friend, Greg, who still lived in their hometown. Greg had heard rumors about Lisa and Tom's tumultuous relationship, filled with its own set of betrayals and heartbreaks. The news was jarring. Tom had become increasingly volatile, and Lisa was no longer the carefree woman Mark had once known. Curiosity piqued. Mark found himself torn between concern for Lisa and the newfound peace he had cultivated. The thought of her suffering stirred something deep within him, an echo of the love that once was. Yet, he also felt a sense of justice brewing. After all, it was Lisa's betrayal that had set him on this path of self-discovery. As days turned to weeks, Mark's thoughts drifted back to Lisa more frequently. He grappled with the conflict within himself. Should he reach out and offer support, or should he let her navigate the consequences of her choices alone? The answer came to him during a late-night conversation with Ellen, who encouraged him to find closure, not just for Lisa, but for himself. With a heavy heart, Mark decided to reach out. He sent Lisa a simple message. "I heard you and Tom are having a rough time. If you need to talk, I'm here." It was an olive branch, a gesture of goodwill tinged with the wisdom of someone who had endured the pain of betrayal. He did not expect a swift response. When it came, it was laced with vulnerability. "Mark, I don't know what to say. It's been hard. Can we meet?" The meeting was set for the following week at a small cafe where they had shared many happy moments. As the day approached, Mark felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation. He wondered if Lisa had changed, if she had gained insight into her actions, or if she would remain the woman who had shattered his heart. When he arrived at the cafe, Mark's heart raced. Lisa was already there, looking older, wearier, and perhaps a bit more fragile than he remembered. They exchanged pleasantries before settling into a deeper conversation. As they talked, the air grew thick with unspoken words, and Mark could see the conflict etched on her face. "Mark, I made a terrible mistake," Lisa finally confessed, her voice trembling. "I thought I was chasing something exciting, but it only led to chaos. Tom is not the man I thought he was." In that moment, Mark felt a flicker of sympathy. He saw the woman he once loved, the one who had once been filled with dreams and laughter. Yet alongside that sympathy was the bitter reminder of her betrayal. He had worked so hard to rebuild his life, to find joy again, and here she was, seeking solace in the wreckage of their past. "Lisa, I can't lie and say it doesn't hurt to hear this," Mark replied, choosing his words carefully. "But I've found a new path. I'm not the man I was when you left. I've learned to forgive, but I can't forget." Lisa's eyes filled with tears as she grasped the weight of her actions. "I understand. I don't expect you to take me back, but I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me." As their conversation continued, Mark realized that this was not just about Lisa's redemption. It was about his own liberation from the chains of resentment. They spoke of their shared memories and the love that had once united them, but also the lessons learned through pain. It became clear to Mark that while Lisa had hurt him deeply, he held the power to release himself from the grip of that hurt. In the weeks that followed their meeting, Mark found himself reflecting on what forgiveness truly meant. He had reclaimed his dignity, but could he extend that grace to her? The answer lay in the strength he had nurtured during their time apart. With each passing day, he felt more at peace, more capable of letting go of the past. But just as he began to embrace the idea of forgiveness, he received unsettling news that would test his resolve and challenge the very foundation of the life he had rebuilt. A message from Greg alerted him that Tom had been involved in serious trouble, and it was only a matter of time before Lisa was once again caught in the crossfire. As Mark contemplated the weight of this revelation, he understood that the ending of one chapter often leads to the beginning of another. one that would require all the strength he had gathered. Mark's heart raced as he processed the gravity of the situation. Tom had gotten himself into a mess that could potentially drag Lisa down with him. It was a dilemma that pulled at his sense of duty and his remnants of love for her. In the cafe, where they had shared their moment of honesty, he recalled Lisa's tear-streaked face as she confessed her regrets. He knew he had to act, not out of lingering affection, but out of a desire to protect her from the chaos Tom had invited into her life. The next day, Mark decided to pay a visit to Tom's apartment. He needed to confront the man who had shattered his world and now threatened to do the same to Lisa's. As he approached the building, he felt a mixture of anger and determination. He knocked firmly on the door, and after a moment that felt like an eternity, Tom answered, his face a blend of surprise and annoyance. "What do you want, Mark?" Tom asked, crossing his arms defensively. "I need to talk," Mark replied, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. The air was thick with tension, and Mark could sense that Tom was on edge. "I know things are falling apart for you, but you need to think about Lisa. She deserves better than this." Tom scoffed, his bravado faltering. "You don't know anything about us. She chose me." Mark took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Did she? Or are you just using her to fill the void in your own life? You're dragging her down with you, and if you truly care about her, you'll let her go." The confrontation escalated, both men exchanging heated words. But as Mark spoke, he could see Tom's facade begin to crack. The bravado faded, and soon Tom was just a man trapped in his own poor choices. Mark seized the opportunity. "Listen, Tom, if you truly care about Lisa, you'll clean up your act. Get help. Otherwise, you're just going to keep hurting her." After a long, tense silence, Tom finally nodded, though he looked far from convinced. Mark left, unsure if he had made any real impact, but he felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He had confronted his demons, and in doing so, he found a sense of closure. As days turned into weeks, Mark continued to support Lisa from a distance, urging her to focus on herself. He witnessed her struggling with the fallout of her choices, and it pained him to see her in such turmoil. But he also admired her strength as she sought therapy and began attending support groups. Slowly, she started to reclaim her life, finding a job and connecting with friends she had neglected during her relationship with Tom. Mark's bond with Ellen deepened as well. They shared their stories, their scars, and their healing journeys. One sunny afternoon, as they enjoyed a picnic in the park, Mark turned to her, his heart full. "You know, I never thought I could feel this way again. You've shown me that it's possible to let go and move forward." Ellen smiled warmly. "You've done the hard work, Mark. You deserve happiness. We all do." As summer waned and fall approached, Mark received a call from Lisa. She wanted to meet, to talk. With a mix of trepidation and hope, he agreed. They met at the same cafe where they had once shared their lives. Lisa looked different, stronger, more self-assured. "Thank you for what you said to Tom," she began, her voice steady. "It made me realize I needed to break free from that cycle of chaos." Mark nodded, feeling a sense of pride for her bravery. "I just want you to be happy, Lisa. We may not be together anymore, but I don't wish you any harm." They talked for hours, the conversation flowing more freely than it ever had. They shared laughter, stories of their healing, and dreams for the future. It became clear that while their romantic chapter had closed, a new one was opening, a friendship based on mutual respect and understanding. As they parted ways that day, Mark felt lighter than he had in years. The winds of change had swept through his life, leaving behind a garden of new beginnings. He realized that revenge had never been his intention. Rather, it was healing and forgiveness that had brought him peace. With Ellen by his side, Mark embraced the future with an open heart, ready to cultivate the life he had always dreamed of. A life filled with love, laughter, and the vibrant colors of a new beginning.